What's going on, guys? Welcome to Grind Time. This is Fantasy Football Grinder. How you guys doing today? I wanted to put together a episode today about sleepers, and I also want to talk about something interesting before we really get into sleepers, and that's backup plans. Um, I wanted to inform you guys something that we got wind of yesterday, and we're not exactly got wind of. It was something that, I mean, everybody can find out. It's very common, but we all need to know this. This needs to play a factor in your fantasy drafts. This needs to play a factor in how you pick your players that you're going to target, and a lot of factors like that, okay? And it's going to be something that I'm going to have to devote a little bit of time to myself to figuring out which of these players may have some kind of underlying issues that we have here. But as we know, the NBA just spent $150 million to house the teams that are going to finish out the season, just for lodging and food. That's it, nothing else. Um, so this is not going to be cheap, guys. This is going to be a very expensive deal, and what we're going to have happen is players that test positive, they're going to have a cooling off period to an extent, I guess. Not, I wouldn't call it a suspension, but what they're going to have is these players are going to have to miss, they're going to have to miss 2 to 3 weeks minimum. So guys, we need to start thinking of backup plans, okay? If you draft a heavy running back, you need to have a backup plan for that running back if case something happens and they test positive, because it would be terrible to have Alvin Kamara get to week 16, and then all of a sudden, Alvin Kamara is done. You're out Alvin Kamara because of COVID, and you didn't have anything else you could go off of. So, guys, I want y'all to know that is a very important thing to factor into all your drafts this year. So we're going to talk about two guys that have backups that I want you guys to be aware of that are definitely worth grabbing, and this actually will boost Alvin Kamara's stats with me. This boosts his draft capital with me, if you want to call it that. With Alvin Kamara, you used to have Mark Ingram, who's no longer there, but now we have Latavius Murray. This is interesting for me, okay? Latavius Murray had 2 games last year without Alvin Kamara, and that's another thing with Kamara. Kamara and the other guy we're going to talk about is Dalvin Cook. Both of these guys have issues with their legs and hamstrings, knees. This is not a good issue to have this season. That was another thing Coach Higgins said. These guys that have hamstring issues before, these are guys we need to avoid this year because they're not going to get that. They're not going to get that motion and that movement that they need to get before the season. And you're going to see some. That's why you see rookies. Rookies always have a lot of hamstring issues going on. We don't want to see that this year from our top guys. So what the Saints did last year was sign Latavius Murray to give themselves a backup when they let Ingram go. And Murray is a guy that I've always liked. I love his game. Latavius Murray doesn't care if he's been sitting on your bench for 3 years. If you give him a shot, he's going to go out there and he's going to give everything he's got. He's going to show out. That's the thing with Latavius Murray that I really love. And so here we are with an issue that maybe somebody tests positive, maybe Kamara tests positive, and he's out for 3 weeks. Who would, we know who we can get for him. We can have Latavius Murray. And Latavius Murray in the 2 games without Kamara last year, he put up 221 yards, a little over 100 yards in both games, not just one big game and one small game. He had both games about a little over 100 yards each. I think one was 112, one was 109. And he put up 3 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. And that wasn't even with Breeze. That was with Bridgewater. So what are you going to get out of Latavius Murray is you're going to get a guy that is going to put up numbers for you in the fact that if you lost Kamara, and also we got to factor in too that if the Saints wanted to, if they really started breaking down things, and I do believe Sean Payton will. He's a really good coach. He's not an idiot. Their best football was with Ingram running that powerhouse running back, and Kamara playing more or less on the flanked out and catching a lot of passes, maybe running here and there, but not as much running as just catching a lot of passes. That's their better game. Their better game is to have that big bruiser, and it keeps Kamara healthy. So, and I mean, we've seen it, we've seen it with a lot of these guys, people they want to keep that back that's a really good pass catcher a little more healthy. And so I do think that Latavius Murray could be factored into the game plan this year a whole lot more. So he's a sleeper and a backup plan all rolled into one. The same thing with this next guy, too, and it's Alexander Mattison. Alexander Mattison had, he had a few opportunities this year with Cook on the field, and he would always come in, and he never really got he never got a game where it was just, he had a massive amount of carries or anything. But what he did do is, he got 7 or 8 carries and would get 50-something yards, and so we know what Alexander Mattison can bring to the table. So if Cook was to get hurt, which he has not finished the season yet, so it's a matter of time before Cook gets hurt. But if he was to get hurt, we have Alexander Mattison here, and we can get Mattison late. So you're not losing by getting these two guys. Latavius Murray, Alexander Mattison are pretty much last round picks. I mean, they don't stay around. They don't go off the board very early. So these are guys that are definitely 100%. They're probably deep sleepers in a sense. And so what I want you guys to do is, if you have Cook, I don't suggest getting him. But if you have Cook and you believe in Cook, that's fine. Make sure that if you have Alexander Mattison, don't draft Cook off of whatever other reason with that and not have Mattison there to back him up. You're going to have Mattison there. If you don't, you're just gonna get yourself in a major bind. All right. So another guy that I want to talk about is one of my favorite rookies this year. This is one of my favorite rookies. He's still getting slept on. He got slept on all through the draft. There's a few of these guys that I know I've watched them in college, and I know that their potential is there, and I'm not understanding why they're not getting the respect that they should be getting. But this guy is one of my favorites. This is J.K. Dobbins. And the reason I love J.K. Dobbins is he has a mentality that a lot of guys don't bring to the table. Some guys just go through the motions, not J.K. Dobbins. He comes in, he's a hustler, he's going to get out there, and he's going to do everything he can to beat any kind of records he can, because that's how he did. He beat every one of Zeke's records at Ohio State. So he's coming for records, man. That's what he wants to do. He wants to leave a mark. And so you're going to get a guy like that, and from the way things are going right now, you're going to get him in the 10th round. He's probably going to be your starting running back. He's probably at least, at worst, he's going to be your flex. At worst, because he's that good. And you could get him as an RB4. So, guys, go get J.K. Dobbins as your RB4 in the 10th round. That's one pick that you will not regret. And, I mean, he comes from the perfect background, perfect pedigree. You can't do any better than that. So, I would go get him. He's a guy that's definitely a sleeper. He's not much. You could consider him Ingram's backup plan. Okay? We're going to have that competition there. They're going to have him and Ingram competition. That's going to happen. Now, if you missed on running backs and you decided to go grab you a receiver, I'm always suggesting people get running backs off the bat, because this is the reason. The reason is, when we start breaking down our, fantasy leagues, average fantasy league has 10 teams. Let's just say 10 teams, maybe 12. Bigger leagues like I would play in are going to be 12. But let's just say 10. That's about the smallest league you're going to get in, and you start breaking it down. What teams in the NFL, what 15 teams, 15 have do not have a running back by committee approach? And if you can answer that, if you can answer 15 of them and feel confident that you're going to get 3, let me know a way to do that without, breaking the bank and grabbing them all right then and there off the bat. You have to. You're going to be in a bind if you don't. And the thing is, you're still going to be in a bind even going 3 running backs off the bat. So, guys, If you got to go, if you are drafting and and you wanted a wide receiver, don't go and grab wide receiver right there in the first round or two, unless it's a top three guy. If it's a top three guy and you know, okay, I'm pick 12 of 12, I'm pick 10 of 10, and you know you can get Josh Jacobs and Tyreek Hill right there, and still come back around and grab you like a Jonathan Taylor and a Gurley or something like that. Unless you can pull that off, go three running backs. Unless you know you're pulling it off, go three running backs. Because if not, you're going to have to depend on a J.K. Dobbins to be your third, and I don't like that at the beginning because the competition with him and Ingram is going to be there for a few weeks, you know. But Ingram's getting older. J.K. Dobbins steps in. This is a man who breaks records. He's going to put up numbers. So if you want to get yourself an RB4, RB5 later in drafts that's going to put up massive numbers, get J.K. Dobbins. Be happy. You know, you're gonna be happy with that pick because he's going to show out. He's going to show out. And the last guy that I want to talk about, I'll go into a little detail with him about, is Ronald Jones. I'm sure there's some people about to skip 30 seconds. That's fine. But Ronald Jones is interesting to me. I hated him year one. I did not like him last year. And this year, I'm kind of warming up to him. When you get Tom Brady in the backfield, it's going to create some changes in mentality, and guys are not allowed to just be okay with losing. Brady and Gronkowski are not going to walk into Tampa Bay and say, you know, hey, this is a good place to retire. We're going to kick back and put our feet up. No, those guys come out of retirement. They put their bodies through all kinds of problems just so they can get back in there and play another season. Those two guys are not coming in to just get beat. They're not. They're coming in to win. I'm going to tell you that now. Everybody said Brady can't win without Belichick. Brady's coming to win. So I believe personally, I know they got some additions there at running back, but I'm not as sold on Keyshawn Vaughn right now. I'm telling you now, as of today, you grab yourself a Ronald Jones at the end of your draft because he's fallen that low, and you know you're more than likely, at worst case scenario, you're gonna have a James White. At worst case scenario, you should end up with a James White. You know, a guy that you can drop in. If it's PPR, he's going to put up at least 15. If it's standard, he's going to put up at least 10. And that's what you have to fill in on weeks that you have bye weeks. There's nothing wrong with that from your RB5, you know? And that's where you target Ronald Jones. I think that Ronald Jones is an untapped talent. I just think that he's there, and he's never really had that quarterback that knows what to do with him. I think that's the problem with Ronald Jones. It's not as much of talent. He's always had talent. If you watched him in college, he's ridiculously talented. It's just all about the fact of getting carries and having the right quarterback throwing you the ball. That's going to matter, and that's what's going to make the difference here. So, guys, I would suggest Ronald Jones, late round pick. That's what I would suggest. So, and there's also a couple other guys too that I'm gonna throw out there just to mention. For one, this is not as much of a sleeper now. It was a sleeper up until the last few weeks, and everybody's caught on. Is Jonathan Taylor? Jonathan Taylor is going to go off. Grab Jonathan Taylor in the third round, and you're gonna be so freaking happy. You will be dancing all the way to the championship because he's a beast. He's been, he puts up 2,000 yards a year in college, doesn't get hurt doing it. That's a massive running back advantage. When you can put up over 2,000 yards on all the carries he took and not get hurt, you're a savage, and you deserve to be drafted in probably the second round. But I'm telling you now, reasonable pick is third round. Somebody like me in a league with a lot of guys that are, really, really in depth and detail, I probably would take him second round, just depending on who I'm playing against and where I'm at in the draft. You know, if I know, okay, he's not going to make it back around, these guys are going to slam running backs, I might get him early in the second, or I might get him later in the second, And another guy is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is with Detroit. I am on the fence with DeAndre Swift. I don't know exactly where I stand with him yet. I like the talent, but I haven't seen that consistency out of him. He has had opportunity. He has not been as consistent. So I want to see some consistency, at least see him do throughout some training camps processes, and let's see what he can do, with the ball. Let's see what he can do with this, and let's see what the coaches start saying about Swift. If you're drafting this week, I wouldn't touch DeAndre Swift early, maybe 10th round or later. That's where I'd bottom third of my drafts is where I would touch him, and he's probably not going to be there by then. So I'm missing out on him a lot just because of that. Because I've got to be reasonable, and I've got to get guys that I know are going to compete and I know are going to put up points. Nothing's worse than getting burnt trying to be too cute. Yeah, I like Jonathan Taylor. I like, I like J.K. Dobbins. I like some of these guys. I'm not a heavy rookie guy, especially at wide receiver. I'm very cautious with wide receiver rookies. Wide receiver rookies can burn you quick. But another guy we're going to talk about, this is going to be the other rookie out of the situation that we probably haven't discussed at all. A little bit. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. And this competition here for the Rams is going to be one that we're going to hear a lot about. You're going to get a ton of it. If you're on Sleeper, get ready, because come July, and we're getting into training camps, all you're going to see, if you're a Rams fan, you got Rams notifications, all you're going to see is Akers versus Henderson. And to be honest with you, the last I heard from McVay was, hey guys, I got 3 good running backs. So what does that tell me? That tells me Sean McVay is not stuck on having an RB1. Sean McVay might be scared to have an RB1 because of Gurley. He let Gurley be the RB1, and guess what happened? Gurley got hurt. And Gurley got paid and then got hurt. And then never came back to form for them. So I'm going to suggest guys to avoid this situation. But if you decided to go with this situation, get Cam Akers and get Darrell Henderson. What you're gonna have to do with that is you're gonna have to have them as your RB4 and RB5. That's how you're gonna have to draft them, and you're gonna have to draft them in places that you probably wouldn't want to. But the minute that you drop that pick and you pick up Cam Akers, you'll have to get him first, because everybody's on him right now. So you have to get him first. But the minute you make that pick, everybody in your league that knows their stuff, they're gonna be on Darrell Henderson. They're going to be ready to jump for Darrell Henderson. So be watching. If you make that Cam Akers pick, you're going to have to make the Henderson pick real close. So I suggest don't touch it right now. But if you decided, you really want to go Cam Akers, you can do that as long as you get Henderson to back it up. Because to be honest, we don't know with McVay. McVay is very fishy with some of this. So I would suggest, if you're going to go that route, do it the right way, grab Henderson and Akers both back to back, same time. So let's move on to the wide receivers. I have a few wide receivers for you guys that I believe are sleepers. I also believe these are guys that could take over and really do some damage this year. The one guy I'm going to bring up, this is the oldest guy of the bunch, but this is one of my, this is one of those guys that I'm not going to let him just fall to the wayside this year. And I always have this memory of when I was about a couple years back, LaShawn McCoy. I drafted him, and he did nothing. I drafted him when he was in Philly, I think it was. This was years back. I drafted him, he did nothing. So the next year, he falls to me in like the 7th round. I'm like, well, I don't want him. He sucked last year. He's going to kill me. So I just said no, didn't pick him up. And the dude goes off and beats me in the championship round. And so I'm always very cautious about having that happen. I don't want that to happen to any of my fans. Like, we want to be able to get in here and win leagues. That's the ultimate goal, no matter what. I'll give away free stuff. I'll help you guys, but I just want you guys to win your leagues. That's my goal, So I'm going to bring up this guy. This is my wide receiver that I think is an older wide receiver that is not getting enough credit, and I think that he is definitely a sleeper that I'm taking this year. And I was not on him last year, just in case anybody wanted to know. It's A.J. Green. And I say this because if you guys, if you take a second and focus and just look from the, outside the box looking in, last year, what we seen with A.J. Green was, I want money. They didn't pay him money. And then all of a sudden, he's hurt. And then an ankle injury, a little, like, it's just like a, sprained ankle or something. All that, it all of a sudden turns into an entire season. How? You got guys out here with broke legs coming back faster than this guy with this ankle injury. How did that happen? Now, year removed from that, Dalton's gone. We got a new quarterback, and now you don't hear any drama? Nothing? Everybody's fine now? So I honestly think that A.J. Green was healthy last year. I really do. I think A.J. Green knew that was his loophole, and I think that's what he was doing, and I have no problem with that. I mean, if you're a player, I don't think you should be forced to play with sloppy play, because that doesn't do anything for him. That hurts his career. If he has a season with a bunch of sloppy play from who knows who of quarterbacks, and then he goes and puts up, 600 yards, everybody's going to say, well, A.J. Green doesn't have it. He doesn't deserve money because he only put up 600 yards. That's exactly what everybody's going to say. That's what everybody's going to say, and that's what any GM's going to tell him the same thing. Well, you should have done better. You only put up 600 yards, so we're not going to pay you. And that's what A.J. Green is looking at, guys. And sometimes you got to put yourself in the place of the player and think about that. And so, do I blame him for not playing last year? Absolutely not. I would not have played with that anyways. I wouldn't. I don't know why Mixon played. Mixon's a running back. He shouldn't have played. But A.J. Green this year with Joe Burrow, I think Joe Burrow's got some learning to do. I think he's got a massive learning curve. But I'm not going to put it past him. He is athletic. He does have a good arm. He can run. And the thing with him is he is very aggressive and he's not scared. Burrow never played scared. He played against really good college competition on defense, and he never got scared, never got timid, So I believe, guys, that this is going to be a good matchup with A.J. Green and Joe Burrow. I do. So I'm going to say A.J. Green. And another target is going to be Marquise Brown. And I typically I typically don't go with, wide receivers that are second year that didn't produce big numbers or didn't even come close. But Marquise Brown had his seasons. He had a really good season last year that was kind of under the radar because it wasn't massive, But the thing is, he only had 71 targets. Now, the target share will go up there. They're not going to just sit there and let Lamar Jackson keep running. They're gonna shut some of that down. Either they shut it down or he's going to get shut down because your body cannot physically hold up to that standard. So that's not going to stay like that forever. So, honestly, he had, 46 for 71, 584 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Honestly, he should get double that. We should be looking at over 1,000-yard guy with over 14 touchdowns. Or maybe give or take some touchdowns. But we should be looking at 1,000-yard receiver at the end of the year from Marquise Brown. You're getting him late in drafts. That's why he's a sleeper. Marquise Brown is a guy I would definitely take after round 8. And he would be my wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 4. Maybe wide receiver 3. I'd probably be 50-50 on that. But that's a guy I wouldn't mind. I don't mind having Marquise Brown on my team. He's gonna put up numbers. He's gonna produce. He's a solid player. So go get Marquise Brown. He's gonna put up what you need to put up, and that's gonna be perfect. Another guy that I wanted to mention to you guys is Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is an extremely interesting guy. Okay, because Terry McLaurin. Last year, Terry McLaurin was one of those guys that he could have had a bigger year had it not been for some little minor injuries and things, okay? So here's the deal with him that I found interesting with McLaurin is that, he started rising in polls and stuff. He started rising in drafts, but the thing is, even with that rise in drafts, he was not. He's not so high that you can't get him reasonably. And when he played, he put up really solid numbers. And his attitude towards the game, he's so dominant in the way that he approaches the game of football. And I think that people are missing how good that guy really is. He can go in there and put up some massive numbers for you guys. Like last year when I watched him play, he just plays with this, he plays with this demeanor and this fire that he's not going to sit down for anybody. And I do believe with Haskins that you're going to see a little more effort and a little bit more fire from Haskins this year, being that Haskins is going to have to start putting up numbers. He's already had enough problems. He's got to start putting up some numbers or he's not going to have a job either. So the next person I want to talk about is CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is very interesting for me because of the fact that Dallas could have grabbed their defensive player. And instead of grabbing their defense, Dallas decided, hey, we're not going to go defense right here. They skipped on some superstar defensive players and grabbed CeeDee Lamb. And you already had Gallup. You already had Cooper. You already got Zeke. So everybody's saying, why? Gallup had his opportunities, and even Cooper's done it too. But these guys were dropping the ball. So when you see CeeDee Lamb pop up and his number, you can call his number up, and that's your guy. That's a potential wide receiver one on that team. Could be a potential wide receiver one before the end of the season. He's that talented. CeeDee Lamb is a guy most fantasy leagues is going undrafted. He's going undrafted. He's going lower than these other guys, and Dallas has put a massive emphasis on passing the ball. So, guys, I suggest that everybody get you a CeeDee Lamb at the end of your drafts, and you'll be able to hold him. He may go on waivers. You may be able to pull him on waivers, but he's a guy that I want you guys to know about. Be ready in case he comes available. This is going to be a guy that you guys are going to have on your team. I would like to have him. He's, at the latest, at the earliest I see him drop is 10th round. A lot of times you can get him later than that. So, guys, just focus and watch for him. If you see him in an opportunity and you say, man, I need that receiver, go get him. And the last receiver I want to talk about as far as sleepers go is Henry Ruggs. This is a guy, I'm not understanding this. This is a guy that the more we look into his history, it's like, he was second tier to Jerry Jeudy. I mean, we got to remember that. He was not even second chair, really. He was really about on the same playing field as Jerry Jeudy. They both split some targets and things like that, okay? But this guy, with 100 targets is nothing. It's almost what 100 targets is almost what just got put up by the numbers I was telling you with Marquise Brown. That was 100 targets, not catches, targets. And he got over 1,700 yards. So he's got 1,700 yards per. He's got 17 yards per catch. I mean, that's what you're getting from Henry Ruggs. And you put him on a team over there for the Raiders, and who is their number one wide receiver? We don't know. To be honest, I mean, one time it was, it seemed like it was going to be Jared Cook, and then the next time it seemed like it was going to be this guy, and now it seems like it's going to be Renfro. I'm telling you guys, John Gruden is not going to play games. He's tired of getting his butt whooped, I can tell you that. And he's gotten his butt handed to him for 2 years straight. He's tired of it. And that's why he got Jacobs. He's gonna run the rock. He got these guys. He's ready to go. So, guys, I'm telling you now, Henry Ruggs, he was a high-end draft pick. And all of a sudden, nobody knows who he is. I'm just stunned. It reminds me a lot of Metcalf last year. Metcalf was, kind of underrated all last year up until the preseason got going, and then some people started catching on. Guys, if you're drafting early, get your Henry Ruggs at the very end of the draft. Just get him at the very end. You don't even have to go high and pick him high. You get him at the very end of the draft, laugh all the way to your championship, because that's what's going to happen in return. That's what you're going to get for that. So, there's also a few other guys there too. I kind of want to bring up to you guys. There's a couple other guys that I'd like to bring up, and that's Deante Johnson, Darius Slayton, Michael Pittman Jr. And I want to bring these guys up because, like with Deante Johnson had a lot last year on his plate. And we've always heard, well, Juju, he would put up better numbers if Antonio Brown was there because he was the second receiver and didn't get all the attention. Juju was hurt most of last year, and Deante Johnson was putting up numbers. So why all of a sudden has everyone wrote off Deante Johnson? Why is he getting wrote off? I've seen him fall on the end of draft boards, not get drafted. I'm able to get him as my wide receiver 5. And he's still there. I'm not understanding why we're not targeting Deante Johnson more often. And this guy goes in, he puts up all these numbers, and nobody seems to stop and say, hey, hold up. Where did this guy come? What happened to this guy? Why? Nobody's asking a question. But Deante Johnson is a guy that you guys should automatically pick up. You see him after round 12, you shouldn't even let him sit. Don't even think about it because he's going to be able to be plugged in as a flex, maybe as a wide receiver too. He's that good. He's been that good. He's never shown me any different. He'll have a bad game just like anybody. But I was getting 2 and 3 point games out of Nuke last year. What else, it's not like these guys are invincible. These guys are not going to every week put up points. Some of these guys don't. That's why I like my running backs. I know they're going to run the ball. I don't have to stress about that. They're going to run the ball. They're going to catch the ball. When it comes to wide receivers, you can hit massively on a guy like Deante Johnson and just walk around laughing. You're just walking around laughing, watching Deante Johnson put up points because teams are focused on winning teams and not losing teams. That's why Ruggs is an important player. That's why this next guy, Darius Slayton is a very important player. He's on a team that's not been winning, so everybody's disregarding him. Darius Slayton is a guy that you can draft right now, and you can take him and put him in your lineup. So, guys, I want you to focus on that. Get Darius Slayton. That's a guy, he's from New York. He's from the New York Giants. This is his second year. I benched him in yesterday's video. Darius Slayton is going to be a monster. So, guys, remember, Darius Slayton, Deante Johnson, and Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. is a guy that I'm not super high on yet. I want to see how healthy T.Y. Hilton is. If T.Y. Hilton comes in and is healthy, then we might as well not go just target Pittman this quick. If Pittman falls to you late, get him. Sure, get him. But I think personally, Pittman is going to have a really tough time. It's going to be tough to get targets between Hilton, Jonathan Taylor, all these other guys. And Rivers, you got to remember who Rivers is. You got to remember he's going to pick one wide receiver, and he doesn't care how old or how young they are. And it's more than likely the one he's most comfortable with. That's more than likely going to be Hilton. So, guys, just listen to me on this one. I like him. He's a sleeper. He's one of my favorite sleepers, but he's not the favorite. Okay? So when it comes to Pittman, guys, let's hold off. Hold off a little bit on the tempo on him. Let's turn down the volume just a little bit, and let's just watch and see how he progresses throughout camp. I'm not saying we're never going to draft him, and I'm not saying that I might change my mind in 2 weeks when I see him play. I might not, but I want to see this guy on the field with actual pro players, and sometimes that makes a massive difference to see guys with real professional players and not just, a college game. Sometimes that matters. And I want to see how he meshes with Phillip Rivers, what Phillip Rivers has to say about Michael Pittman Jr. That's going to determine whether or not I will draft him. So, guys, if you're drafting this weekend, I'm sorry, but as of right now, I'm not touching him. Let somebody else deal with it. Grab yourself a Slayton. Grab yourself Deante Johnson. I brought him up in this segment for a reason. And the reason I brought him up in this segment, I want people to know that I think he could be good, but I also think he could burn you, and I feel like these other guys are better picks and better suited for teams that are built around running backs. We need guys, when you're building a team around running backs, guys, you want wide receivers that can give you the good, solid points. Nothing crazy. We don't have to blow up every week. We just need solid points. That's it. 10 points, and you're happy. So, let's talk about the tight end that are sleepers. Two guys that are going to be lumped pretty much in the same category together, and they're pretty much in the exact same space together, is Noah Fant and TJ Hockenson. There's really no change as far as their teams for Hockenson, but for Fant, you know, we seen they went ahead and got Jerry Jeudy. They grabbed Melvin Gordon, and they still have Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. They still have all these guys. The thing is, guys, Fant is a guy that's a pass catcher. Like that's his strength. He's not great at blocking. So Fant is not going to be out there to block. He's going to be out there to catch the ball. That's what he's going to do. If they want to run, they're going to run another tight end. They have a list of tight ends. I've went and looked at it. It's like Howerman and all kinds of guys. All these guys they have, though, they're all Jake Butt is one of them. They all those guys, they're all blocking tight ends. So they know who they're going to throw the ball to as far as the tight end goes. Noah Fant is a guy that you're going to get late. This is what these guys are, and you could get him as a potential tight end one, and I wouldn't be mad if that was my tight end one. In a lot of leagues, I'm drafting him as the tight end one, and I'm drafting Hockenson as my tight end two, vice versa. You know, if you get both of these guys, one of these two, I guarantee you, by the end of the year, is a top 5 tight end, and you're going to be sitting there looking at yourself like, man, why did I miss on that? Why didn't I take that advice? You know, don't miss, because look, tight ends can make or break your team. Tight ends can do some things for your teams that a lot of people forget about. You know, go ask people that had Kittle. You know, they had Kittle the year he went flashed out. You know, if you had Kittle and he flashed out, oh my God, you were laughing at everybody. You know, you drafted him late and he flashed out, you were laughing at everybody. So guys, Hockenson and Fant are both guys that I want you guys to grab. I want you guys to have every advantage possible, every advantage humanly possible when you draft. Those are two guys I'm highly suggesting you guys grab. So go out, grab one at least, and then look at these guys too. We have Hayden Hurst, who went to Atlanta. This is an intriguing place for me. Hayden Hurst going to Atlanta means a lot of things. Austin Hooper put up really good numbers being an Atlanta tight end, and I'm not 100% sold on the fact that Hurst is, you know, Austin Hooper's talent yet, and that's because we don't know. I know what I seen from Hayden Hurst in college, and I know that last year he didn't quite get his fair shake. When Mark Andrews come in and just started blowing up, that was it. I mean, nobody was going to get a chance after that. Nobody. You'd be an idiot as a coach to go put in Hayden Hurst. You know, like, let me pull the guy that's working and let me put this guy that's unproven in. Sure, you would be a freaking idiot if you went and put in Hayden Hurst. But I do think that he's in a position to succeed with Atlanta, and that's where I'm excited to see this situation go down. I would take Hayden Hurst as my tight end too. I wouldn't take him as my tight end one. That's the difference between him and Hockenson and Fant. I would take one of Hockenson or Fant as a tight end one, but not Hayden Hurst. I need to see more from Hayden Hurst before I think he's a tight end one. Does he have the potential? He has more than the potential to be a top 5 tight end. More than the potential. That's why, guys, I'm talking sleepers. That's what we're talking here, guys. Another guy that I want to bring up, and this is a guy that's a backup, okay? Technically, he's a backup. Irv Smith Jr. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been big into like autographs, collecting autographs and stuff. This is the funny thing is, if you ever want to follow like who Vegas thinks is going to be somebody, start looking at how much, like, the price of certain autographs. Start watching how autographs come in. Irv Smith Jr. is a guy, and I'm not saying that we're just going to start judging our talent off autographs. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that shows you the popularity and where people are thinking with some things. And with Irv Smith Jr., last year he started kind of coming alive. He was getting adapted to the system and moving into the system. We know Rudolph is getting a lot older, and I don't think Rudolph makes it through another season. I really don't. I think you've seen the peak of Rudolph. I'm suggesting you guys go get Irv Smith Jr. Go get him at the end of your drafts. These are all end of your draft type of guys anyways. You can go get this guy as a backup tight end towards the end of your draft, and nobody's going to know who he is. Nobody's going to touch him. He can be your last pick. But if this guy goes off, you're going to have the whole Rudolph deal, except it's going to be 10 times better. That's going to be a whole lot better because this is a younger, more talented kid than Rudolph. He's not going to fall apart on you. He's very healthy, and this will be a guy that I want you guys to target later on in drafts. If you haven't got your tight end 2 and you're down there and you don't see, anybody, but you see him and he clicks to you and be like, hey, that dude told me to grab Irv Smith Jr. and here he is at round 16. Yeah, go get him, okay? Just go ahead and grab him and you'll see. I mean, you start doing a little research, guys. Don't just take everything I say to heart and then not do your own research. Make sure that you know, okay, I like these guys. Don't just take my word for it. Go look it up. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. But I want you guys to be right whenever it's time to draft. So here we are. What I want you guys to do is to be watching some of these guys and just be ready, man. Just be ready because you don't know. I mean, things could change. I can make this video right now, and Irv Smith Jr. could go break his leg walking down his steps. God, I hope it don't happen or nothing. No, I'm just saying that something could happen today that changes the entire landscape of football. For all I know, they could say, players can only play every other 2 weeks. You have to sub in a whole nother team every other 2 weeks. Then we're changing a whole nother, we're changing a lot at that point, a whole lot. But as of right now, no. So guys, I just want you guys to be focused on the fact that all of this can change at the drop of a hat. These are suggestions, and these are things that are, this is going off of this moment in time. This moment in time could change in 30 minutes. I can't help that. There's nothing I can control about time. But one other tight end that just got moved around. This is interesting, guys, and it's very interesting stuff because, man, for years we've said, David Njoku. When David Njoku comes out, he's going to be a beast. He finally gets traded. I believe, honestly, that he got traded for the best because I don't see anybody on that team that's of the talent of any of the receivers he's had to compete against. If you guys see somebody that's that talent, let me know. But there's not that talent in Jacksonville. Now, DJ Chark is a good receiver. He's a good receiver. He's from my hometown. His parents live about 5 minutes up the road from where I'm at right now. So, I love DJ Chark. I hope I hope he goes off. It'd be great if he'd be the best receiver in the NFL, for all I care. But I don't see that, this competition for Njoku being so high that he has to just sit back and do nothing but block. So, guys, I'm suggesting you keep an eye on Njoku. Let's keep the news up. I'm not suggesting grab him today, but I am suggesting to keep an eye on him. Okay? And what I want to talk about last is quarterbacks that you guys are probably, a lot of these and some of these are guys that I just wanted to throw in because I want you guys to understand, don't go quarterback heavy this year. Don't do it. It's so crazy this year. If you go get a quarterback in round 2, you've lost. You've lost yourself because Yeah, you might have Pat Mahomes. I hope to God he don't get hurt again. So there you go. I mean, that's what you're gonna have. You better hope he don't get hurt. You better hope he still has a repeat. You better hope Lamar Jackson goes off, because if they don't, then you wasted a massive pick on something that you may have gotten very similar results from 5, 6 rounds later. So don't do this, guys. Just wait till round 6, round 7, round 8. Get you 2 quarterbacks back to back. The combination that I suggest everybody get, the combination I suggest is Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan. Because I know where they're falling this year. They're falling between 6 and 8. And that's the perfect position. You'll have a chance to load up three running backs, maybe 4, and 2 wide receivers, and then get your quarterback. So you're going to get 2 stud quarterbacks. You cannot beat that. So guys, that's my combination I like. I get it. They're a little older. They're getting up in age, but that's also a driving factor in these 2 guys. They both have wanted to get that. They both want that championship so bad. And even Brady, because Brady's done left the whole team to go get it. So guys, they want that championship so bad. They're going to get out there and perform. So guys, I want you to focus on the fact that these 2 could easily be the best combination. You could take them, and the same with any of these other guys that I'm going to mention. You could take them and you could play them based off of matchups. You don't play them just, this is my favorite one, I'm going to go with it. You could play these guys off matchups. If they're playing a terrible pass defense, go and play them. If you've got Matt Ryan over here against the best defense in the league, but that same week Aaron Rodgers is about to play whoever, the worst team in the league, then there you go. You have Aaron Rodgers on the field, and you've got a great matchup, and there's not much thought process into that. Another quarterback is Tom Brady, and I guys, I hate to spell this out, but I'm not a massive Tom Brady fan. I never have been, and just being honest. Fan standpoint, I'm not a big Tom Brady fan. But the thing you get from Brady is the thing that I got last year. I went and took Brady. I went and traded for him and Kittle last year. And this is another deal. I had loaded up at running back. The other guy lost his running back. He lost him quick. And what happened is I traded him 1 running back for Tom Brady and George Kittle. And by the end of the year, I'm laughing because I've got a great, solid quarterback play from Brady, and then I've got this. And for some reason, every year these guys slip through the cracks, and everybody starts getting hyped about the young guys, and they forget these older guys are going to put up numbers, man. These older quarterbacks, they're going to still put up numbers. So I suggest you guys get Brady. I love the weapons there. I'm not a fan of Godwin because Godwin's just went absolutely too high for me. His price is way too high. But I do like Evans. And I think Brady can bring something out of that team, put something into that team that's probably better than anything they've ever had, because he's the guy that, he can rally a team. When it's crunch time and you need somebody that knows what they're doing, who else would you trust to lead your team? I mean, who else would be a leader of a football team better than Tom Brady? I don't see it, I don't see it. So guys, I suggest Brady, Rodgers, and Matt Ryan. I also suggest Phillip Rivers. And I know this is crazy. Rivers last year, he would, all of a sudden he'd drop 50 freaking points, and the next week he'd drop -2. So what do you do? What do you freaking do? But I've watched with Rivers, I've watched a lot of plays not be on him. A terrible offensive line play. That offensive line and with the Chargers went from really good for a long time to just progressively worse and worse and worse. And it was so bad, and that's why I really honestly think that does hinder a player like Melvin Gordon from staying healthy. If every time you touch the rock, you're getting laid out, yeah, you're not going to be healthy. That's just how it is. So I honestly, guys, that's something I'm not okay with. That's something that you know, I think it was the biggest killer for Rivers. It was the not having that O line to keep him protected. Then he didn't have quite the targets. Keenan Allen's okay, but who else? I mean, who else there? You got Melvin Gordon, and that's it. You know, now you bring Phillip Rivers over here with T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman. You got Paris Campbell. You've got Nyheim Hines. You have Jonathan Taylor. You got a squad that's gonna be pretty like stocked up for this year. You're gonna have a lot of good targets for Phillip Rivers to throw to, and he's gonna have a ton of time to throw. So he'll be making really good decisions. So I would go with Rivers, and I would also go with these two young guys, Drew Lock and Daniel Jones. I'm not suggesting these guys be your number one and number two. I could really, and Rivers either. Rivers, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones. Look, don't grab these guys as your number ones. Okay, these are guys that you're gonna get last round, or really really late as a backup quarterback, and you're gonna hope that they reach their potential, or just scratch the surface of their potential, where you have a guy on your bench that can put up numbers. Okay, so that's where you're going to get. We discussed Daniel Jones and Drew Lock in yesterday's episode, but I just, those are two sleepers at quarterback that you guys can grab that are going to definitely make your teams better, okay? So that was, that's where we're at today with this. That the sleepers is sleepers is something, man, that it's a tough world to maneuver. Sleepers is a tough world to maneuver because the NFL has no garbage players. You think of all the players in the world that they're not able to make this. They're not able to make this cut. There's some incredible talent here, guys, and sometimes it is hard to narrow it down. So what we're doing here, man, we're just doing, we do all the research we can do. We do all the tape study and film study we can do. And, we talk to Coach Higgins on Tuesdays. We do everything that you can do to make this show better and to be able to help you guys win your leagues. So that's the ultimate goal here, guys. We want people to win leagues. Don't really care how they win their leagues. We just want to help them win. We want to help them win through, whatever way we can, guys. So if any of you guys have any questions, you have any comments, leave them in the box below. We're gonna make this show. It's gonna have some extra features here soon. We're working on that. Just have a little patience with me. We're working on it. But I just want to get you guys an episode out with sleepers and backup plans. Don't forget, at the end, don't forget the main thing that I brought up to start it off, that there's a potential that players will see 3-week suspensions to an extent if they get sick. So, guys, keep in mind when you're drafting, if you're starting to draft early, some guys are, remember that 3-week suspension could kill your team. So be focused on studying who your studs are and who their backups are. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll have another episode tomorrow about something even better. Thank you guys.